This episode is brought to you by Kia's first 3-row all-electric SUV, the Kia EV9, with available all-wheel drive and seating for up to 7 adults, with a 0 to 60 speed that thrills you 1 minute and available reclining lounge seats that unwind you the next. Visit kia.com/EV9 to learn more. Ask your Kia dealer for availability. No system, no matter how advanced, can compensate for all driver error and or driving conditions. Always drive safely.
I'm Mo Rocca, and I'm excited to announce Season 4 of my podcast, Mobituaries. I've got a whole new bunch of stories to share with you about the most fascinating people and things who are no longer with us. From famous figures who died on the very same day, to the things I wish would die, like buffets. All that and much more. Listen to Mobituaries with Mo Rocca wherever you get your podcasts.
Looking for a great haircut or shave experience? Come to Champion Salon and Barber. Our skilled barbers and stylists are dedicated to giving you the best service possible. Whether you need a simple haircut or a complete grooming package, we have you covered. And while you're here, feel free to enjoy a complimentary beer and chat with our friendly staff. We have 2 convenient locations in Waco and Woodway, Texas. You can also book appointments online or through our app, making it easy to schedule your next visit. So why wait? Visit Champion Salon and Barber today and experience a cut above the rest.
LOL. Yes. Boobies.
Hi.
Hello and welcome to
Boobies.
Boobies. That's right. We're your host. I'm Caitlin.
And I'm Joshua.
And today we're here to talk to you about
Whose house?
his house.
His house.
That's right. It is 2020 is when it came out. It was my pick from our Netflix series.
Yes.
I really enjoyed this film and I enjoyed it again while watching it for a second time.
Pretty good, yeah. It's written and directed by Remy Weeks.
Remy Weeks.
From a story developed by Felicity Evans and Toby Venables. It stars Wunmi Masaku, Sope Dirisu, and Matt Smith.
Matt Smith.
Yeah, Matt Smith. Doctor Who. Right?
11th, yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, he was the 11th Doctor.
He was the Doctor Who for a while, right? Because
Yeah.
I feel like I saw his face for a while.
Yeah, he was. I feel like once the show made a comeback after
Like mainstream.
Eccleston and Tennant. Tennant was probably one of the longest running Doctors, but I watched a lot of Doctor Who.
I've never seen an episode.
Oh.
But I know
Well,
like,
Matt Smith was a great Doctor.
Of its, existence.
He was a great Doctor. I cried a lot whenever he regenerated, but that's okay. I also cried a lot when Tennant, because Tennant was my favorite, but also Eccleston's my favorite. So
It's a metaphor for life.
I just like them all. I like Doctor Who.
Evolving.
Yes.
This film, which follows some refugees who are from South Sudan,
seeking asylum in England.
Yes. We join their journey basically in a transition from one lifestyle to another lifestyle, all while dealing with supernatural elements and a lot of kind of metaphor, symbolism, a lot of actual like emotion actually that ties into the film. And
lots of metaphor.
There's a lot of bumps in the night in this movie.
Yes.
Let's dive right in, right?
Yep. We open with the scene of a father carrying what you would assume, or what you can assume is a father carrying his daughter. You're not, 1000% sure just because you just got into this movie. So you have literally no clue what's happening.
Yeah, it looks like a dad holding their daughter. Yeah. Which one would assume, like you said, but it could be a lot of things, which we find out later.
And we see them like kind of fleeing an area and getting into this truck bed. They're like shoving on multiples of people. Like way too many people probably to be safely in a truck bed.
It's images that we've seen before in like, news and like things where like people were fleeing from war from, you know, struggles or any type of, you know, genocide. Gives very that much energy.
Any war-torn country.
And so they end up on that truck, the bed truck, and we have our other, I wouldn't say protagonist, but other main character, Rial, right? And she tells this young lady, she says, you know, because they're looking pretty fearful, and obviously this is a little kid, so she's just like, I will protect you. Yeah. But then we quickly transition to their journey on a boat. In water, deep ocean, very nighttime, very rough seas. Already I'm thinking off the bat, like, this boat about flip over. Yeah,
because it's also packed with way too many people that I'm sure it is way outside of the occupancy expectancy rate that it is supposed to have. So, yeah. And what does it do?
It ends up, I think, like the motor stalls out or something, and then or something happens, but they end up all...
Yeah, lots of them are in the water.
What's it called? When a boat flips? It has a certain name. Capsizes, yes. And so they're all in the water. We see a bunch of chaos happening. I think it's... you know, at this point, we see some people trying to save other people. We see that the little girl gets separated from our two main characters. So Ball and Rial. So we can only assume that, you know, she probably died. But he ends up waking up, and we notice that this is all a dream from Ball's perspective. And he is sitting there laying there on the bed, and we have Rial looking at him, and she's like, you know, what were you dreaming about?
And he says, our wedding day.
And she's like, oh, no wonder you were screaming.
Yep, explains the screams.
And which is, you know,
he kind of
marriage
laughs and chuckles at it and goes like, clicks his tongue.
And then we have them getting greeted by the people. They're getting pulled out because they need to go meet them in the gymnasium, right?
Yeah.
But before then, they talk to that one guy.
Yeah, who's... I don't remember really what they talked about.
It's just pessimistic. He's just like basically telling them not to get their hopes up because like you're not going to get released essentially.
Yeah.
Like,
you're going to be stuck here.
Just like the rest of us.
Just like we've been this whole time. You're not going anywhere.
Yeah. But essentially we get led up to the people like 1, 2, 3, 4. It reminds me of Bring It On, but they're on a panel. And they are...
Yeah, it looks like a panel of judges.
And we do get a whisper, and this is where the lady is like, their daughter died last year.
Yeah.
So we are already alluded to what we thought happened already.
Confirmed that Nyagak.
I don't want to butcher the name, but I would. Yeah, that's as close as I would think it would be. I don't know.
I think it's Nyagak.
I think so. Yeah, it's spelled Nyagak. So if anybody could send us a message or something and help us out on the proper pronunciation of that.
Yeah.
But she is dead. So they're basically, we come up on them now like as grieving parents, essentially, on top of trying to flee a country, on top of now being refugees, on top of basically being in like prison almost as like detainees, like because they're basically just in this place and can't do anything.
It definitely seems like it.
They're being told essentially that they are being posted bail, essentially
released on bail as asylum seekers. And they're giving them the laydown of basically everything that they're going to have to do and everything to maintain and stay.
It's a lot of rules
on bail. Yeah, just like if you were on bail.
Like
and you were in
or
prison and probation, you have to follow all these rules. So basically, they must not miss a single report. Once a week, I believe it is, they have to check in.
Yeah.
And they can't miss a single report. They're going to be allotted 74 pounds a week, and they can't supplement it in any way.
Can't work, can't do anything.
Yeah. So they just have to exist off of 74 pounds a week, which in 2020 is not a lot.
And they're making it's essentially a system that's going to make it hard for them to stay.
Yeah.
You know, it's essentially set up so that way they fail and get sent back to wherever they were from.
Exactly. And it's saying like they must live at the address that they're given and they cannot move, cannot flee, cannot go anywhere else. They have to stay at this address, which as we find out later is not a great place.
No, not at all.
It's really a shithole.
Bigger than everyone else's house, though, apparently.
That's what they all kept saying. It's bigger than my house.
But
is like, okay, but is it covered in maggots and
filthy
like rats and stuff like it is for them?
That must be England, though.
Yeah, I guess so.
I don't know. Because that one guy made a comment like, there are rats everywhere.
Yeah.
But
I mean, in any major city there is. New York, there's lots of rats.
I want to go. I want to see a New York rat.
I saw one scurrying from a trash bag.
And bite it.
Rip
into its flesh in front of all the New York people, and they won't even be fazed. Watch. That's how New York I'll be. You'll
be one of the crazy people on the street.
And
then you'll catch a disease and die.
What a way to go. They're grabbing their stuff, and they're now getting on a bus, van bus type of situation, and we are getting a title card, I believe.
Yes, red on black, my fave.
And very Netflix.
Yeah, true.
And we end up getting dropped off in front of a house. That's very like shittily, like just very like, okay, here you go, bye.
And the man like literally throws their bags outside on the ground. He's just like, boom, boom. Okay.
Yeah.
Bye. No, like instructions, no nothing.
No housewarming, no like, okay, walking you through this.
Here, like, we're going to get off here. This is going to be your new home kind of thing. It's just bloop.
Get walked through by Matt, who comes out of the thingamabobber.
Matt Smith,
which is his name. I forget his name in the movie.
I think it's a Mark.
Mark, yeah.
I believe so. I don't know. I have it somewhere else.
I think it's Mark.
I have it in my... I
was trying to recall, but Matt, Mark, pretty much the same.
I just put the doctor is here to help. So...
That's what I put. Doctor Who is bringing them in. So he's bringing them in, and he's like kind of walking them over like there are rules to this place, like no balls, no like friends, no parties, no this and that. Don't be, no loud noises. But he's telling them like, the lighting needs fixing and they have to do that. We're obviously getting pictures and pan through the house, and there's just like roaches, it's filth, there's holes on the walls, there's like wallpaper that's peeled. It just looks really run down. It's not a cool place. It's not somewhere I'd want to stay.
No, not at all. It was really gross. His name is Mark. I confirmed it later in my notes. So, but yeah, basically the home is disgusting. But then basically Mark has to say like, well, here's your home, basically sign your life away.
Which they do.
And this is where we get that Bull used to work in a bank, and he like knows how to use a pen and how to sign. He has a signature and stuff, because Mark makes a comment like that's a rather confident signature or something like that.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And so we also get these other condescending remarks from Mark about like them and their stay, and basically saying, uses this phrase quite a couple times. It's like, be one of the good ones, which is really condescending and really racist. But it's essentially setting up like already like the atmosphere and the way that these refugees are looked at, because it's not only from Mark, it's from the whole system, from everybody that like we do see end up in the movie like working around him, and even like the neighbor. So they are not getting a warm welcome at all.
No,
not making it easy for them. And we do see after Mark leaves, Bull goes upstairs, kind of looking out the window, and like he's crying.
Yeah,
and I feel like it's probably a mix of like crying of like, finally they're here, and this is what he's been wanting.
They've made it, yeah.
But it's almost like trading one evil for another evil. You know what I mean? But also, like I'm sure it's like a mix of relief, a mix of like, damn, like what are we getting into? But
yeah, after seeing that house, I'd cry too.
Yeah. Right? But you can't do anything about it.
Yeah.
Like you just basically sold yourself. But now we have Rial, and she's taking the beads off of a doll, and she's making a necklace.
Yeah. And it was Nyagak's necklace or doll. Yeah. And the little beads were on like the skirt of the doll. And she just conveniently pulls it off, and it's all set in a necklace. I was like, where's the clasp? I don't know.
Just get a little tie. That's it.
Yeah.
A little loop knot. So it's nighttime now. We're laying down on the floor. And they're having some pillow talk. Essentially, they're just kind of conversing. That's not a word. They're having conversation, and they are
conversing is a word.
Converse.
Yeah.
I don't think it's.
Conversing's a word. You
conversate. You conversate, but you don't converse.
Yeah, you do.
We'll look it up.
Okay. Converse is a word.
I don't know if it might be. Yeah.
Okay. You were right. I'm pretty sure.
I don't know. But they're talking. They're talking, people.
Maybe it's not proper.
Yeah, I don't think that's what it is. It's not like proper English or something like that. But they're talking, and they're basically talking about like, how they made it, their house, all of that, how they want better for themselves. But at this point, I think they're asleep, but Bull wakes up because he hears noises or he's walking around, right?
Yeah, he hears a female voice coming from a hole inside the wall, basically. And it lures you in. A lot of this film has to deal with like kind of getting you really close to what's about to happen. And then like a lot of it plays a lot on the silence and the darkness and the silence of everything, and then contrasting it very quickly with a loud bang or something like that, which I like.
Yeah, it really plays into the mystery. It really plays into like the fear of what you can't see.
Yeah, because like
we know you love.
I felt like I was about to like press my ear up against this wall with him, or like whenever he puts his like head or hand into the holes, it's you feel like you're doing it with him. They did a great job of shooting that, in my opinion. I really liked it.
And so he's hearing all these things. He's like kind of already like, you know, got that like, is this real? What is going on? Am I going crazy? And then something hits the window, which kind of takes us out of that element. But
there's that loud bang.
That bang. And it sends him into like this almost PTSD mode, because he starts recalling all the voices of like people screaming and like what I'm sure is what he heard from like the boat, or maybe even from before what they came from. Yeah. And so after this, we hear the humming again. And it's a lot more clearer as well. And
you're hearing something skittering like inside the wall.
Yeah.
You're hearing something like little tippy tappy.
Sounds like rats.
Yeah. Like rats. Like some sort of rodent is in the wall.
But yeah, like you said, he puts his hand in there because there's a hole in the wall that he ends up finding. And I'm even thinking like, why would you do that?
Yeah.
Like,
no, there's no way my hand would go inside a hole.
Because it's very dark. It's like that pitch black color that's new, that's paint, that's like black and so black you can't see. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
That's what it looks like. It's just so black. It's like a void. But he ends up putting his hand in there. But at the same time he's doing this, we do see that behind him, the like cupboard or one of the doors to a room is like opening.
Yeah.
And we see a figure coming up from behind him.
And then they're like crouched behind him too, aren't they?
Yeah. They
crouch and then they're like, Rah!
Yeah, because it ends up being crouched and then like, you know, next to him like that as he's looking in the wall. But as soon as that's screaming, a bird comes out of the wall.
Yeah. So much is happening.
Yeah. So
and lots of it.
I don't think he even notices that thing was behind him the whole time.
No, I don't think he did. I think that was a thing that only we were in on. And then you get a jump scare from the bird, which quite literally made him jump back in fear. And, you know, I'm sure it got lots of people.
Yeah. It kind of got me.
Yeah.
Because it was very dark and you're paying really close attention. Like the
fish in Deep House.
And also you're paying attention to the creature behind him, but then like the bird. The fish in the Deep House. Oh, that one got me so bad. Coming through that porthole.
Yep.
I remember that to this day. So scary.
So scary.
And so it's the next day. Bull is fixing a door, you know, with the little, what are they called? Screws and everything, trying to get the hinges all fixed up. And at this point we see that Rial notices that the doll is in the trash.
Yeah.
And so she picks it up, she takes it out of the trash. And at the same time, I believe she's looking out the window or something, and she sees, they're looking out the window and they see the old white lady in the middle of the street.
Look, it's their queen.
They're making fun of the white lady.
Which that cracked me up.
It was pretty funny.
A little white-haired lady. I mean, it did
comedy,
like from that angle and stuff. I was like, that could be the queen. Sure.
R.I.P. God rest her soul.
God save the queen.
She's burning in hell.
She's dead.
Sorry. But Bull is taking a look outside, waves at the neighbor, right?
Yeah, and she's fucking creepy as all get out. She looks like, she kind of reminds me of, I don't know, like she looks like she should be in Coraline or something with her facial features and the way that they're proportioned. Yeah, she had such a long face.
I can see that.
I don't know. She was
like
very
a Tim
creepy
Burton
looking.
character.
Yeah.
And he ends up walking away. He goes to a barber shop. He's getting his hair cut. And this is when he asks the person cutting his hair, because this is how I also feel like how kept out of the loop they are. He's like, where are we? They don't even know what city they're in.
No clue.
And so he's asking him. And so he ends up walking around in the city and looking around. He's getting some supplies, I think, from a store, from a church or something.
Yeah, I was like, it felt like a church until they got inside, and then it looked like a bar.
Yeah, which was
I was
really
like,
weird.
church bar? I don't know.
Yeah, because he is like, we've got supplies for you, and this dude invites Bull in, and then we see that they're watching a soccer game.
One of them refugees.
Mm-hmm. They're football, right?
Yeah,
call it over
football.
there. And they're singing the song about Peter Crouch.
Yeah,
who's a football player, I guess. I don't know if that's an already famous person or not, but
or if it was just made up for the story. Yeah, I have no clue.
But
I don't know nothing about football. You know Peter Crouch? You ever heard of that? No, me neither.
We do see that he at this point as well, it's another point as well where he is super heavy on like he wants to fit in. He wants to assimilate. He wants to like be a part of this culture now. This is their home.
He's really trying to make it work. He doesn't want to be sent back.
Yeah.
Yeah. And he's singing the Peter Crouch song with him.
And that's whenever we do have, I guess it's, once again, we're transitioning to nighttime. We're back at home.
Yeah, and they're in bed. And all of a sudden they hear someone coming up the stairs, which was like, ugh.
It's creepy.
Yep.
And of course, we're looking around.
Peter Crouch is real? Did he play for London?
Real.
England.
So cute.
London, England.
And so we have, at this point, he's looking around, checking the house out, and he's getting so spooked that I think he senses something else behind the wall again. So he starts to peel off the wallpaper, right?
Yeah, and the light's not turning off either.
That's right.
He like can't get the light to turn out, which I thought was kind of weird.
Since they come when the lights are off.
Yeah.
Boom.
But I mean,
he notices that there's black mold behind the wallpaper as well, though.
Yeah.
And like another hole. So at this point,
the wallpaper, he doesn't even pull it. It sheds.
Right.
It just like falls off.
Yeah, it's peeling off.
It reveals that black mold squishy hole thing, which was
at that point I was thinking, wait, is this like a movie about how black mold is now affecting their psyche?
Yeah, which that would have been kind of fun.
But we do have them the door opens up and the lights turn off. And at this point, he sees a rope come out of the hole in the wall. And so he starts pulling on it. I don't know why, but he's pulling on it. And at this point, I'm thinking like, bruh, that's a wire. You're pulling wires out of your house.
I thought it was a root. It looked like a root to me.
Yeah.
Like it was something so weird, bizarre that I was like, that doesn't look like it should be in your wall.
Yeah.
But yeah, I definitely wouldn't be pulling it.
Pulling it out. It's so long. It's kind of a really like hectic, chaotic, crazy scene. The music behind.
And then it morphs into this rope covered in seaweed.
Yes.
And then all of a sudden as he gets to the end of the rope and he's pulled it all the way out, like you said, he just kept pulling and pulling and pulling and pulling, and it finally came out, and then at the end of the rope was attached the little doll. And then all of a sudden
it gets yanked back.
A little hand takes it back in.
Very scary. He even like jumps back.
Yeah.
And I think at that point there was like even another figure behind him again.
Probably
a shadow, but nothing happens because he gets that scare from it getting pulled back, and then it turns into the next day. And
Bull is taking all the wallpaper off, basically, at this point. He's like, no more wallpaper left for this wall.
That's true, because Rial's looking around and she's cleaning up the wallpaper, and she's like, what the hell happened here?
Yeah, she's just like, this is weird, but okay.
Yeah, she kind of accepts it pretty fast.
I guess we're just remodeling. He really hated that wallpaper.
And she ends up hearing a noise, essentially, as well. Because at this point, she ends up kind of investigating a little bit, and she opens up a closet. But at the same time that she opens up the closet, she gets a flashback. Yeah,
she sees Nagak in the closet, and basically it just kind of it makes me feel like she's just reminded of Nagak at every corner.
Yeah,
basically anything that she does, she's haunted,
heavy on her mind.
Yeah,
because I mean, at this
ghost
point
of her,
we're still grieving. We're still like, we're under the impression this was her daughter.
Yes, exactly. Speaking of ghost of her, I meant to talk about this. There was the other day I was driving home.
What did you see?
And I've had like really bad anxiety about driving recently. Like just like an anxiety about death. And I was driving home from Dallas, and it felt very like a log truck drove by.
Final Destination.
And then Ghost of You by My Chemical Romance came on, which was like, the chorus literally says, she's never coming home, never coming home, never coming home.
Did you change the song?
I did.
Okay, good.
Yeah, because I was like, nope, this is starting to get a little
Pull over to the side of the road.
Too freaky. And I was like, this is, I know, I'm not a fan.
Red flag.
Yeah. I was like, I've seen Final Destination. I don't need this.
One too many times.
Anyways, sorry.
But I'm glad you made it.
Yeah, me too.
But no, that's funny. I have those moments too.
Freaks me out.
Driving in general. Spooky. Yeah. We put our lives in danger every single day getting on the road at any moment in time.
I know.
Like, because any little thing. It could not even be like a major,
not your fault.
And one, it could also like not even be like a major accident or something, but like you just get hit in like just the right way, like you could impaled lung, dead.
Yep, dead.
Took the ambulance too long to get there, you're dead on the way. Like, you know, like too many things, too many variables. But like, anyways, yeah, we're getting back. Riel is having that flashback and stuff, and then we're now with Ball, who's shopping, and he's in a hardware store, and he picks up a hammer, and he's picking up this hammer as well and studying it, and you can tell he's like grabbing it like you would have grabbed a weapon, and he's like thinking in his head like, well, this could come in handy in case something spooky happens again in the house. Because he's
also ready to knock some ghosts out.
And I think also at this point, because even though he's seen the things, he's like in denial. He's like very much like trying to not make this a thing,
and he's ready to defend his home. Like, he wants to, this is his home, he's gonna stay there. He's not gonna let some ghosties scare him out, basically.
And at the same time, we're cutting back to Rial. She decides that she's going to leave the house. She wants to go to the hospital, I believe.
Yeah, the doctor, which at the beginning, that was like the one little bit of information was Mark drew them a map to the doctor down the road. But clearly his map is not super helpful, especially when you have zero fucking clue where you are.
Exactly. Yeah. Whenever you're in an unknown place.
Yeah.
And so she ends up following this map, but unfortunately for her, it kind of leads her into this neighborhood that's kind of almost like a maze. And she gets lost. For some reason, she sees the same little white boy a couple times
playing soccer,
and I don't know if
football
that's
against the wall
to make us feel like
she's going in circles, but he was definitely in a different location.
Yeah. So I don't know if that was
a ghost
for us to make us think like, is he one of the ghosts? What is this?
Yeah.
But she ends up getting to the spot where it's kind of open area. We see these young three men playing. And so she walks up to them, and I believe presumably she probably thinks that they're going to be kind to her or help her out because she sees them as the same skin color as she is. And so she walks up to them, but very quickly we see that these are some really dumb, mean little bullies who are not nice to her.
Yeah, they're basically lying to her. Each of them says, go this way. Like,
they're trying to confuse her.
Yeah. You know, it's actually right down this way.
And they're like, no, mate, it's going to be that way.
In it.
You're blowing her smoke. Nuh-uh. But yeah. And so they're very much not helping her out.
They're making fun of her accent.
And as she's walking off even, they're like yell at her to go back where she came from.
Yeah.
So not such a pleasant interaction for her. Who is already dealing with like, she's already giving off the vibes of like very much like sad to not be home, even though we know like what she went through there. But at least I feel like she thinks like that's familiar territory. Here, like we're back again. Like it's a different evil.
This is terrifying. It's terrifying to be isolated in such a manner. And I mean, there's comfort in knowing, like being surrounded by people who are like you, who speak the same language and stuff like that.
Yeah. And so she thankfully ends up finding her way to the hospital.
Yes.
And so whenever she gets there, she's talking to the doctor. And this doctor is talking to her, trying to make small talk. I mean, for the most part, she seems like she's trying to be nice, but she's asking like a lot of personal questions. And she notices that Rial has these scars. And Rial has to explain that back where she's from, that there are two tribes and that they essentially are at war with each other. They're killing each other. And you mark yourselves with these markings, and one represents one tribe and one represents the other. And she marked herself with both of them because one time she had come home or had to leave home and essentially was separated from her family for a time, and that whenever she got back, her whole family was murdered.
Yeah.
Brutally. So that's why she marked herself with them, so that way she could claim both tribes. And essentially, he's like, homegirl's just trying to do what she can to survive.
Yeah, she says, I survived by belonging nowhere, which I thought was
so
really pretty, but also sad.
Yeah, I'm like,
it's a pretty sentiment.
Yeah, but like also traumatizing and sad.
Yeah.
And so
her verbiage was pretty.
That's true. And she then gets asked by the same doctor after to go all through that. And I think even the doctor is like, oh shit, like damn awkward. Is like, oh, do you have a child? Do you have a daughter? And she's like, my daughter's dead.
She died when we crossed the sea. And this doctor lady's just like, okay, I'm gonna stop
talking, literally
asking questions.
Yeah,
because this is
really dark.
Yeah,
poor lady. Yeah. And so we end up having Rial coming back home. And at this point she tries to get back into the house, but we see that there's some like white girl taking a leak like in front of their window. And even the white girl is like, oh my God, someone lives here. Yeah. Because I guess they thought it was just abandoned house.
Empty house. Yeah. Which like, why would you also just pee on a house? I don't know.
Yeah. Gives that the area as well that they are probably in is not the best area at all. It's very much the slums of a roughage. And so Rial ends up sitting on the floor, and I think that's when she hears something tell her to come.
Yes, she hears a male voice say come, and then basically all the peaches, or I'm assuming they're peaches.
Oh, peaches maybe, yeah.
They like fall, and then one of the peaches fruits goes into the wall. And then Bull comes home. Right, that's what I have,
because she sees something, but that's all we see, that she sees something, but that's it. And then it cuts
we don't see what she sees.
Exactly.
Yeah.
And so then it cuts to, once again, they are having dinner. I believe they're on the floor again, and he brought home like takeout essentially, and they're in like these metal pans, and so they're trying to eat it.
He brings silverware.
Oh,
for
that's
them
what
to
it
use.
is. The utensils. That's right. Yeah. Because they come from where they're from. They're customary to like eat without utensils. They eat with their hands.
With their hands.
And so she says like she doesn't like it because it makes the food taste like metal.
Well, yeah, that's all she can taste. Ever since then, ever since seeing that, I've been like trying to see if I can taste the metal.
The metal?
Yeah, with my silverware.
I don't know. I don't know.
Yeah, I couldn't really taste it.
I don't taste the difference. I do.
But he did say you'll get used to it. So I just think that we're used to it.
We probably are. We know no different.
Yeah.
For the most part. And so they're having dinner, they're having conversation. And at this point she starts to talk about, actually he's talking about how they can start a new family.
Yeah.
And this really kind of ticks her off. You can tell already. And especially we're thinking like, damn, like they just lost a kid. Why is he mentioning like, let's have another baby?
A year later or something.
Too soon. And so she starts bringing up how when she was younger and she was growing up in her village, her mother told her a story about an apeth.
Yes, once an honorable but poor man who wanted a home of his own. Did you have the story written down too?
No, I don't.
Okay, great. He stole from others, stole from this old man, and that man was an apeth, a night witch. And he didn't know that when he built his home, the apeth would live there too. The walls whispered spells and consumed the man entirely. And I liked that. I thought it was cool. Yeah.
Yeah, very
much. Basically, a peth is like a
boogeyman, ghost story.
Boogeyman, yeah, kind of.
But maybe tying in a little more into like spiritualness, I guess, in a sense.
Definitely.
Because she does say she believes that the apeth followed them from the ocean here into this house.
Has risen from the ocean.
And she... it told her that they don't belong here. And it also told her that it will guide them back to their daughter. Yep. And he's, basically saying like, that's crazy. He's gaslighting her essentially because he's also seen some crazy shit. But he's like...
Yeah, I know. Which I was like, he's saying there's no witch. And I was like, boy, you have seen a lot of stuff to be to like, not just be like, oh, you're right.
Oh, yeah.
There's a bunch of shit going on that's weird.
Deep denial and gaslighting her to... make it seem like there's nothing going on because he's saying like they're just grieving and that they need to leave it in the past, and he is calling her and then she basically says like, you know what, I was gonna basically tell myself like this was all made up I was seeing things, but now that I see your reaction and I look into your eyes, I know that you've seen the same things I've seen, and you are a liar.
You are a liar.
Mm-hmm.
Yep. Which was good. Did you know you could be putting oil and chemicals in your coffee? I love coffee creamer, but I don't think I've ever turned the bottle around to actually see what's inside. When I did, I found out many of my favorite creamers contain ingredients I would never intentionally add to my coffee cup, like canola oil, dipotassium phosphate, ew, and artificial flavors. Laird Superfood all started when big wave surfer Laird Hamilton needed morning fuel that could allow him to spend the entire day chasing the ultimate wave. He couldn't find anything in the market that met his ingredient standards, so made himself the ultimate plant-based creamer. Laird Superfood started and launched its first product, Original Superfood Creamer, in 2015. Laird Superfoods contain no artificial flavors, colors, or additives, and no sugars from highly refined corn syrup. All Laird products are sustainably sourced and thoroughly tested to ensure that you're incorporating the cleanest, finest fuel into your routine. All Laird products are also made of all-natural whole food ingredients, and they are crafted from the highest quality all-natural real food ingredients. Are you ready to feel more energized, focused, and supported? Go to lairdsuperfood.com and add nourishing plant-based foods to fuel you from sunrise to sunset. Use our promo code BOO at checkout to save 15% off your purchase today.
I love smoothies, but I don't love smoothie bar prices. With my BlendJet 2 portable blender, I can make smoothie bar quality beverages for a fraction of the price. BlendJet 2 is portable, so you can blend up a smoothie at work, a protein shake at the gym, or even a margarita on the beach. It's small enough to fit in a cup holder, but powerful enough to blast through tough ingredients like ice and frozen fruit with ease. BlendJet 2 is whisper quiet, so you can make your morning smoothie without waking the whole house. Lasts for 15 plus blends and recharges quickly via USB-C. Best of all, BlendJet 2 cleans itself. Just blend water with a drop of soap and you're good to go. There are also over 30 plus colors to choose from. I myself chose black because it matches the color of my soul. What are you waiting for? Go to blendjet.com and grab yours today, and be sure to use the promo code BOO12 to get 12% off your order and free 2-day shipping. No other portable blender on the market comes close to this quality, power, and innovation of the BlendJet 2. They guarantee you'll love it or your money back. Blend anytime, anywhere with the BlendJet 2 portable blender. Go to blendjet.com and use the code BOO12 to get 12% off your order and free 2-day shipping. Shop today and get the best deal ever. Did you know that dehydration is the leading cause of daytime fatigue? I was shocked to learn that even mild dehydration can cause headaches, muscle weakness, and brain fog. But luckily, there's a solution. Cure! Cure Hydration is an oral rehydration solution that contains the perfect balance of electrolytes and glucose to help your body absorb water and rehydrate quickly. The formula is made with all natural ingredients like coconut water, powder, and pink Himalayan salt, and is free from artificial flavors, sweeteners, and preservatives. Cure Hydration is vegan, gluten-free, and non-GMO, making it a great option for anyone with dietary restrictions or preferences. The packets are convenient and easy to use. Just mix with water and drink. They're perfect for on the go, travel, or anytime you need a quick and effective hydration boost. Hydration is more than just drinking water. That's what Lauren Picasso, a lifelong endurance athlete, discovered as she struggled to stay hydrated no matter how much water she drank. Lauren founded Cure, a science-backed electrolyte drink mix to make hydrating easy for everyone. Cure believes that hydration should be simple and effective, but also clean and natural. That's why they use only the highest quality plant-based ingredients and avoid any artificial or harmful additives. They're committed to transparency and honesty. All of their ingredients are clearly listed on their website and packaging, and they're always happy to answer any questions or concerns. Ready to combat dehydration? Try Cure today and feel the difference for yourself. Use code BOO for 20% off your order.
Are you tired of the same old boring puzzles? Mix things up with Wongo puzzles. Each puzzle is a custom design with intricate patterns and whimsical shapes that will keep you engaged for hours. Plus, their eco-friendly materials and commitment to sustainability make Wongo puzzles a guilt-free way to unwind. Wongo puzzles are 100% wooden puzzles, meaning they'll last forever. Each piece is hand-drawn, so no two pieces are the same, and you'll discover some fun, whimsy pieces as you work through it. They come in a custom wooden box, which is perfect for storage and gifting. With stunning design and unique shapes, Wongo puzzles are a cut above the rest. So what are you waiting for? Go to wongopuzzles.com and pick your puzzle today. And be sure to use the promo code BOO and get 10% off of your order. This is the most fun you've had with the puzzle, guaranteed, or your money back. Go to Wongo, WONGO, puzzles.com and use the code BOO to get 10% off your order and get puzzling right now. Wongo.
nighttime again, and Bull starts messing around with the wallpaper.
Yeah, he's pulling it all off again.
Because he heard something. And then he ends up, I don't know, he sees that there's someone or some entity at the end of the hallway.
Yeah, walking in the other room, which I think is the kitchen.
Which is pretty creepy. And at this point, I think he's holding this candle, but the candle gets blown out.
Yeah, I think we see someone walking in the other room, and then he sees a tiny figure, which we can assume is Nagek, scurrying through because it's yelling, "Mama!"
And then he sees her on the floor.
Yeah.
Yeah. And that's whenever he ends up getting attacked and almost stabbed.
Yeah, because she like hops on his shoulders and is like ready to like basically slit his throat, right?
Yeah. Yeah, for the most part, because he's struggling to try to turn on the light that's in the house.
Yeah.
And he ends up finally getting it on. And once he does that, he runs out of the house and he ends up going into the backyard. He looks very petrified. The neighbor, like, is looking at him.
Lady.
Yeah, is looking for him at him from the window, and he just kind of smiles back at her.
Just petting her cat.
But yeah, he looks back inside and it's just pitch black. And he's, I guess at this point, like, he can't deny it. Like, he's like, what the fuck was that? And so we do see that Riao is at the stairs.
Yeah.
And she finds the doll in the closet, right? At that point.
Something like that.
Yeah.
My notes just say next that he comes in and says everything is cursed.
Oh, yeah. Yeah. Because at this point, he's like freaking out. And so he ends up grabbing everything and he starts burning it.
It all needs to be destroyed. Everything they brought. He like takes the shirt off his own back and starts burning that. Like, they need all new clothes. They need new everything. Everything is cursed.
Yeah. Everything that they brought with them. And he even like rips off the necklace off of her neck, essentially, even though she's like pleading with him, like, no, please. Not the necklace.
Don't leave me with nothing.
Yeah,
basically.
Exactly. And so at this point, the next day, Bull goes shopping, and he wants to look more like, the
Old Navy ad.
Exactly, like the people who they're around. And so he's trying to get clothes that match the mannequins on the ads. And at this point, he gets back home and he starts working on the wires at home. He's trying to get things cleaned up. Rial starts helping. And then we're back again at having dinner. At this point, they're now sitting at a table, which I think is also supposed to like show to us like how much she is trying to force them to like to the customs of like what people do here.
Yeah.
Even like behind closed doors, you know, essentially, like that's how much it is. Like not even in their home can they do things that they used to. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
So he ends up they're talking and having conversation. He's really pushing on her to like, we need to assimilate. Like we need to like, you need to use the utensils and stop eating food with your hands. And at this point, she brings back up that she's been talking to the Apeth, and she says that
because doesn't he kind of catch her?
I think that's
talking to Nagek.
Yeah, I think so.
What I assume is Nagek, because she was saying that like he doesn't want to leave you, and perhaps if you spoke to him, like we could figure this out.
And it keeps telling her that she can get their daughter back.
Yeah.
And that it's also told her that she needs to be careful of Bull
and be afraid of him.
He's dangerous, essentially, I guess.
I really liked her line of saying, after all we've endured, after all we've seen, you think it's bumps in the night that frighten me. I was like, yeah, true.
She's like, I've seen shit.
I've seen people die. I've seen entire like classrooms of people massacred. And no. Little ghost ain't scaring me. She's like, I'm friends with this Apeth.
Yeah.
We're buddies.
And so at this point, she's at the table, but then she's not, because I don't even think it's essentially that she's walked away, but we're getting like this vision, kind of metaphorical, like display of Bull now at the table, sitting by himself. And
it could be like a PTSD kind of traumatic flashback.
Like everything going on in his head.
Yeah.
And we see like the house is like, it's literally just like a wall. It's not there. It's in ruins, and he's eating dinner, and there's like water. It's like he's in the ocean. It's
Which
like he's
this
floating.
is one of the like thumbnails too, like the covers of the movie. Yeah.
And, he's essentially eating in defiance, like just trying to like pretend like nothing's going on. But then at this point, he ends up seeing like a bunch of souls, like dead bodies in the water, looking at him. And he's at this point like freaking out because he falls back into the water and they're grabbing on him. But thankfully, he wakes up from it. And it's essentially just another nightmare.
And you're hearing Nagek say something like, help me, I'm cold, I can't breathe, I can't swim, and stuff like that, which is, you know, really haunting. You know, you can assume that that was what she was saying as she passed. And
then he hears like an angry male voice, like loudly. And then he's like hearing a bunch of voices, like just like crying out for help. And he hears
another mama as well, I think. Someone yelling mama.
Yeah, calling out mama. And then the lights are turning off and on. And then there's more and more of them coming, and he ends up getting attacked again. And at this point, he turns on the lights after like they're all surrounding him.
And he's yelling, "This is my house!"
Exactly.
Roll credits.
That's it.
It's his house.
And he's yelling at them to get out, and he essentially kind of loses his mind at this point because he's going crazy, and he starts destroying the house. He's like putting holes in the wall.
Yeah.
At this point,
he's taking that hammer and he's just going ham.
And at this point, I'm thinking like, where the fuck is Rial? Because like she need to calm him down. But it essentially
she just passed the fuck out.
Oh yeah, she's a heavy sleeper through all of this. The next day, we are back with Bull, and he goes to and he's at the like office where Mark works at.
Yep.
And so he's talking to him, and he's basically trying to ask for like a different house. He's like, and he also kind of looks a little crazy, like he hasn't been getting sleep. His hand is like kind of patched up because it was hurt, I'm assuming, from him grabbing the wall or doing things punching through it.
He got cut.
Yeah, at some point.
Whenever he stuck his hand in the wall at some point, something cut his hand.
And so, I mean, I get it because he's kind of giving off like unstable vibes, but the Mark
he's also
is being
like
a
super
dick.
Unclean, I believe they said.
They said he smells.
Yeah.
He needs a shower. But they're not... He's essentially, because Bull is asking for like, I need a new house, but he's like, well, if we do all this, like questions are going to be coming up. Like we have to do an inquiry. We have to go to the house and check things out. And Bull is like, doesn't want that to happen because he can't necessarily explain that like what's happening is that like, you know, it's ghosts, but he's trying to say like, it's just rats and it's dirty. They're getting sick. They need to go. The doctor said they need to move out, which none of that is true. It's just that he's essentially having ghosts,
trying to find
he's trying to leave, and he's thinking that if he leaves, like that'll be the end of it.
But you can't run from your
ghost.
past.
Nope. And so in this process of trying to like, you know, ask them for this help, they're not helping him, so he gets frustrated, and when they gave him like a little glass of water, he ends up like getting so frustrated, or juice, he crushes that glass in his hand without noticing, and then runs out of the room because
he's just like
freaking out.
This is awkward.
Looks bad.
Now I look extra crazy.
We're back at the house though, and Rial hears Mama.
And Nagek has brought back the necklace to her, found it in the little fire and brought it back.
And then she sees all those eyes in the walls, like all those people's faces in the walls looking back at her. It's pretty creepy.
And then because Bull just went and made quite the scene, we now get a house visit from the
people who are running Mark and like I guess his colleagues. And so they're coming there, they're inspecting. Bull is really trying to play it up like, yeah, those are big rats, like, you know, whatever. But at this point they're trying to be like, you know what, we got to report this. And Bull is like, you know what, no, like I'll fix it, I promise, like give me some time, you'll see, like it'll be okay.
Come back. And then fucking
Rial shows up and she's like, we have a witch.
Have you told them about the witch? And he was like, what? And she was like, it torments my husbands with visions of her. And it was just like,
I was laughing.
Oh, yeah. But I was like, fucking Rial.
I was like, of all times for you to pop up.
And then she was wearing like, she was dressed in traditional clothing.
Yes.
And they were like, she's wearing her bed sheets.
Yeah, very ignorant remarks, but they're essentially like, what the fuck? Because she sounds very crazy. And even
a witch. What?
And Ball is like, don't listen to her. Like we'll fix it. Like, you know, whatever. And he is big mad at her because she came and like, you know, kind of he feels embarrassed, I guess, or feels like she's put a threat on like their being there. And so he is being, you know, they're having an argument, and she's basically saying like how much she disapproves of his actions, and basically like calling him a sellout, and like you're like accepting scraps from these people, but like,
yeah,
you know,
she's talking down on the people too, saying like how poor, lazy, and bored they are.
Yeah.
Like to be doing all this and like find kind of enjoyment out of being over us.
Their sorrow.
Yeah.
But then also like equating to like these people now have you like as their pet essentially, and now like that makes
like
you
a
even worse.
Puppet.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And so she they're going at it, and then I think that's whenever she tries to like say like how quickly you forget your daughter or something like that, and
how quickly you forget everything we went through to get here. How quickly you forget our daughter.
And he puts his mouth over her hand, or his hand over her mouth, and like tries to shut her up, and is like, I'm grieving too, or all this and that, and all this stuff. He tells
her, you're sick.
Yeah.
This is our home.
And then he loses his goddamn mind and is holding her hostage.
Yeah. He basically locks the whole house up. He like breaks the locks off of the windows and doors so she can't get out.
Because she was saying like, I'm going to leave with or without you.
Yeah.
And he's like, the hell you are.
Yep. You're not going nowhere. And then basically then we get her calling him a thief.
Oh yeah.
Yep. And she said, your life is not yours. You stole it, and repay what you owe. Or is this where the apeth comes in?
Well, because the apeth comes in, and at this point, because this is whenever he actually sits down and he's on the couch and he's like, basically inviting it, like, come and get me, like, talk to me, like, we're gonna settle this right now.
Yeah.
And so it turns into like almost like a vision, like kind of sequence where he's transported to somewhere else. And then we have him talking to the apeth, and the apeth is basically saying like, you need to give me your blood.
Your
for
life
her.
For Negex.
Exactly.
Yeah.
So you can get
your
her
body
back.
For hers.
And Bull is basically saying like, why can't you come get me yourself? Like, why can't you hurt me? And he ends up putting his hand in the fire that's there, and he ends up realizing like, you can't get to me.
Pictures can't hurt me, he says. And yeah,
he's basically saying like, do your worst, like, come in to this house, like, I invite you, ghost.
But you're not real. You're fake.
And he's taunting him, and
you're a figment of my imagination. And then that's when the thing is like, why don't you sleep? And then that's when he was like, realize that when he sleeps is when he dreams and he's making him face his fears, basically.
Yeah. So it's like he can never have any peace. So essentially he's
tormented by day, and he's also tormented in his sleep.
Yeah. And even though that the
all the memories
can't like physically touch him or kill him at this point, like he is still basically tormenting him. Like he's at his mercy. His
has
whim.
A whole hold over his entire life.
And so at this point, we do have Rial coming up and noticing that Bull is on the couch. She sees him in a trance, and he's like peed on himself. And she takes it upon herself at this time to be like, I got to get the fuck out. So she ends up trying to get out. He does kind of come up halfway out of it. He tries to stop her, but she ends up being able to get away.
She stabs his leg.
Stabs him in the leg and blocks him into that room with the closet with the broom on the door, right?
Yeah.
Yeah. And so she gets out. She's running away, but as soon as she gets out of the house, it like transports her into back where they were from.
Yeah, she's like back in Sudan now.
At a school. We see her going greeted by one of her old friends or colleagues, essentially.
Yeah, it looks like she worked at a school of sorts, and she goes in and she sees all of her old friends and stuff, and the children. There were children in there. It definitely looked like a classroom setting.
Oh yeah, for sure.
And she sees all of them, and she looks at them, and she says like, I know what you are. This is just a dream, kind of thing. And so we're basically back to where she was before she escaped, before they escaped the war zone.
Yeah, because Bull is calling out for her, looking for her, and he ends up finding her coming out of like this little cabinet in the corner of the room. And we see that this is essentially a flashback because she looks terrified as she's like sees what's on the other side of the room that we can't see. And as the camera pans around, essentially what I can assume is that all these women that she was just hanging out with in this vision of the past were murdered and slaughtered, and they're just like bodies in the room. And
she was hiding inside a cabinet and survived, which I imagine has to have a lot of guilt, knowing that that you were in there and you survived while everyone else perished.
Yeah, a lot of survivor's guilt.
Yeah.
And so they end up, we see that they're hiding on a roof. And we see these people with guns walking in the foreground, and we see this man essentially on fire walking and then falling to his knees,
which was wild.
Yeah, which is pretty crazy that people have to go through that.
Yeah.
And so we see like all the terror that they were trying to flee from. So we can understand, it's trying to give you more understanding of how desperate they are to leave, which kind of paints later on like why certain actions are taken in order for them to break free of like the suffering.
And also it shows you just like kind of exactly how much Riel is haunted by it. The fact that she's willing to go back. Yeah.
And so
she takes it very seriously.
They end up at this point, this is where we see that they are walking up to like a bus that's trying to take people away from their situation. But the bus there's all these people around it. It looks like it's about to get mobbed. And the people on the bus are saying there's only room for like a couple more, but it has to be children. We're only taking children.
Yeah, women and children or like families.
Very Titanic.
Basically.
And so he literally picks up a little girl that is right there in front of the doors. And he's like, is this not a child?
Yeah.
Essentially. And that's whenever we really get to find out that this was never
their daughter. Yeah.
He literally stole her.
Stole her right from her mother's hands.
Because they get on the bus and we see the mom literally as the doors close, right? And then at the back of the bus, like screaming for her child. And this child is screaming.
Like, mama, mama.
And they took her.
Yep, they took her, and that bus drives away. And
it really drove it home whenever you see this mother like chasing after the bus.
Yeah.
Screaming at the top of her lungs, like blood curdling screams for her child.
And then just falls to her knees. Or did she get shot?
No, I think she just fell to her knees.
She just fell to her knees. There were gunshots happening as well. So I was like, oh, God, did she die? I couldn't tell. I'm sure she probably did die.
Yeah, which is really sad. But yeah, we learned that this was never their fucking daughter. It's a pretty big twist, honestly.
It was. And
so the Apeth is now saying that, talking to her, telling her that she can bring her back to trade his flesh for her. So the Apeth is basically trying to get her to kill him.
Take his body and I will give you what you want, basically.
And so Bull finds her and brings her back into the house. And she is definitely considering killing him because she keeps like looking at a knife, and then like they're having just like kind of awkward, cryptic conversation for a moment. But he ends up getting up, doesn't he? And grab the knife. And that's when he walks back.
Because she was like washing her hands at the sink.
Next to the knife. That's right.
Knew that the knife was there. And then all of a sudden you hear the knife like kind of clink clack sheath kind of sound.
The noise that a knife would make that I love. Yeah. And so we see that he ends up basically sitting his arm on a vein.
Yeah, and he says, let me save her.
Yeah, he says, like, I know what it wants, and I'm going to give it to him. So he's basically now telling as well to Riel, like, you need to get out of here because they are coming. It is coming for me. You need to go. I'm going to do the right thing finally.
Yeah.
And so we see, like, the house starts shaking. This hole starts coming up from the middle of the ground, like kind of like a sand pit.
Yeah. And this creature comes out of it, which is, like, we get to see the Apeth again.
Yeah.
But this time really up close and personal.
It's basically like a pasty white wormy looking man.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Kind of reminds me of Boop.
Who's Boop?
Barbarian.
Oh, Barbarian. Mum.
The Barbarian lady.
Yeah, I can see that. But with like without the wig.
Yeah. Just a bald version.
But yeah, it's pretty
and he's
gnarly.
got really creepy eyes.
Terrifying.
They're like black eyes with these tiny little, it's like if they had black eyes, but you were seeing the reflection of like a lamp or something in the eyes. So it was just this tiny like glow that was happening from the middle of these black pupils. And it was pretty scary.
And it comes out and it grabs Bull and it starts pinning him to the ground, and it starts digging into the cut into his flesh, and it's like getting so much into him that it's
hand
like
into his arm,
peeling the skin. It looks pretty bad.
Yeah.
But at this time, the same time, Rial is having of her vision, and she's talking to these ladies, and she's essentially being like, it's time for me to go home. And I think at this point, she has making peace with what she has done and her guilt, and so now she's able to like take the power and like kind of come back and like because
the ladies basically told her to at one point, either earlier or right now. They said, daughter, What daughter? You have no daughter.
Mm-hmm.
Like, you were never
a mother.
Yeah, you were never a mother.
And so she ends up coming back, and as soon as we're thinking that Bull is about to die at the hands of this monster creature thing, but she comes up from behind and like just starts slitting the throat of the creature.
Yep.
Of the witch.
Kills it.
And she kills it. Yeah. Which I was like, oh, I didn't know you could do that.
Yep.
Okay, cool.
And successfully saves Bull though in the process. And then we get a knock at the door.
So next day, it's daytime. It's a home inspection.
We got Mark again.
We see that there's a rug covering the hole. That's it though. But the walls are filled in, so that's something.
Yeah, they made some progress.
And they're talking to Mark, and Mark's kind of like, got this little smug look on his face. He's just kind of like, y'all seem well.
Yeah.
And that's whenever he's like, how's the witch problem? And I think what Bull is like, oh, Rial killed the witch.
Yeah. He says it so matter of factly.
He's just like, oh, she killed it.
Yep.
And they start talking, and he's like, and your daughter Nagak, and they're like, your ghost will always follow you.
They never leave.
It's just how you live with them or something like that.
Yeah, they live with you. It's when you let them in that you can truly begin to face yourself.
Mm-hmm.
And then I love this ending shot. It's just the two of them
in the house
holding hands, but then surrounded by all the people that were lost along the way.
The ghosts.
Yes. So they're just surrounded by all the ghosts, and the house is packed. It's not even just like
to the brim.
Yeah. It's like they're packed in like little sardines.
It's very much a metaphor for what they were going through in their guilt and their grief and everything that they had to get over emotionally. Yeah. In order to now start this new life.
It's really a beautiful.
And they're just going to live with all these ghosts now.
Well, or a rather well done story, in
very
my opinion.
Yeah. Ready for the booze?
Yes.
I'm going to give it a solid. I will give it a 3.75.
3.75. Why is that?
3.75. I thought it was a pretty well told story. I really enjoyed the acting by everybody. I thought everybody did a pretty good job acting wise.
Yeah, I would agree.
Even because it's just basically two people for the most part.
Yeah.
So I believe them. They really sold it for me. I thought the twist was pretty fair. It was pretty good. It caught me by surprise. I didn't pick up that wasn't their real daughter.
Yeah.
And whenever I figured out that they stole her, I thought like, damn, that's savage as fuck. Mm-hmm. But I also understand like where they were coming from.
Just they were trying to save themselves. Yeah.
And you make a moment that you make a decision in a moment of an instance that I'm sure that
when you're faced with such a terrifying situation.
And obviously like they were going through so much guilt that like they know what they did was wrong. He knew what he did was wrong. And I don't know that necessarily, like I'm almost drawn to between the whole, I don't know if any of it was all matter of fact and real, or if everything is just a metaphor for their guilt. And like they were going through these things like crazy, or if there really was a witch, like, and this evil thing that tried to kill him. I don't know, like, but I like that leaves it up for like interpretation. It's kind of like meta, makes you think a lot. It's really pretty. I
think it could be a combination of both.
It can. And I think that, well, I don't know. I think I'll give it a 4. You know what? I'll just give it a 4. It's a pretty good story. I like it. And I there's not really a lot of places where I feel like I can like pick at it or knock at it. I mean, even the runtime, it's not that long. It's really digestible.
Yeah, it was an hour and 30. Or like an hour and 32 or something.
I think the only thing that unsettles me is just the fact that like, it's so crazy to think that like you can really do some horrible, crazy things and like forgive yourself and be fine.
Yeah.
Because at the end of the day, like it is a story still of how like these two people stole a child and let it die in the middle of the ocean. But yet now they're still getting their home sweet home.
Yeah.
You know, dreams are coming true now.
Yeah.
We got over it.
A life.
So that, it also kind of paints a different picture of me. Like it also, like, that's why I kind of like, it also makes me cringe. Cause then I'm like, but wait, these people did something really terrible.
Yeah.
And just because they can forgive themselves, it's like, well, we deserve everything now. We're good. Like it kind of still feels like you should atone more for your sins.
Yeah.
But that's just kind of me probably
I feel like they
being
weren't
judgmental.
So, I mean, at the end, yes, they faced what they did, but I don't feel like they were thinking they deserved everything. Mm-hmm. I don't know. I mean, I think he was trying to make the best of the situation. Mm-hmm. But I feel like he was obviously tormented by what happened. And he even says like, I should have saved her. It should have been me who drowned and not her. Mm-hmm. Like I should have done something more. I don't know. It is kind of a.
It's sad all around. But
it's a sad situation. But I don't think they intentionally like killed her.
Well, and I don't think they intentionally killed her either. But her blood is on their hands.
Yeah.
Like it's still like kind of is what it is.
Yeah, and I think they definitely were aware of that.
I want a sequel where like the mom comes back and is an assassin and tries to kill them.
And tries to kill daughter. Them. Yeah, I see. I thought I was thinking of Rial, and I was like, wait, kill who? I was like, Miguel's already dead. But I see. What's
your boo rating, boo?
I think I would give it a 4.5. Yeah, I really, really enjoyed this film. It's the metaphor and symbolism behind everything, I think, is really beautiful. It's really well shot. I liked all the creatures, the creature and then the different ghosts that they were seeing that were really quite unsettling. The way that they twisted Negek's face and stuff to be how it looked was rather scary. I remember the first time I watched this film, it kind of legitimately scared me.
Creeped you out?
I was like, ugh, no, thank you. I do not want, if I saw that, absolutely not. Yeah. I would not be as calm as Bull was. There were a lot of moments where they were too calm. Yeah. Yeah. I was like, no, you should be burning that house down. It should be on fire. Something, you shouldn't be in there. But yeah, well shot. The acting was phenomenal, in my opinion. There wasn't any moments where like I felt like you really felt all of the emotions that they portrayed whenever they were experiencing like true sadness, or like the moment whenever Bull was crying in front of the window. I really liked that scene in particular. I thought he did a wonderful job of displaying his emotions and really connecting it to the audience. And I feel like you really were drawn in with what he was feeling in that moment. But yeah, overall, it's a fantastic movie. Would definitely recommend that people watch it. Yeah. If you haven't seen it, it's on Netflix. That's where we watched all the movies this month. Yep. So, please do yourself a favor and go watch it. It's a really good, easy watch, like we said.
Shout out Netflix.
Yes.
But yeah. So we got about 4.3, 4.0 and a 4.5, 4.3.
Yeah, something like that.
But yeah, overall, I mean, it was a good watch. And and a lot of it was well shot. And like you said, a lot of those moments between like when he's at night and he's like having those encounters with the ghosts and everything. Yeah. It's pretty creepy. It's pretty scary. Yeah. It's like
makes you hold your breath.
It's a really pretty horror story, I guess. Like it's a horror movie, but it's like there's so much heart and emotion and metaphor into it because it
was very
symbolic.
Artsy. Yeah. Like art house kind of.
Especially in the visions and all of that kind of situation.
It was very well done.
Well, guys, once again, like always, we're in the lovely Rogue Media Network studios.
That's right. They take great care of us, and you can listen to us or any of the other amazing podcasts that they have on this network at
roguemedianetwork.com.
That's right. Or you can listen to us on a slew of other podcasting platforms, the biggest two being
Spotify
and also Apple. But wherever you do listen, don't forget to
rate, review, like, and subscribe.
That's right, because that is the only way we can get ahead in this world. And if you would like to reach out to us and let us know your thoughts on His House, or if there's any other films on Netflix that you're like, ooh, I really want you to cover this one, you can reach out to us on our one social media platform, and that is Instagram at
Boobays Podcast, and that's BOOBAES, because we're your boobays, not your boo babes.
That's right. And until next time, we don't know what we're covering yet.
We'll figure it out.
So
join us for the ride.
Yep.
Bye, bays.
Bye, bays.
This has been a Rogue Media Network production.